We have the three lawmakers that are leading the Biden impeachment inquiry. House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer, House Judiciary Committee Chair Jim Jordan, House Ways and Means Committee Chairman Jason Smith. Congressman Comer, we'll start with you tonight. Tony Bobulinsky, the big guy. Biden was the business. What did you learn today?
Well, we learned a lot, and Tony Bobulinsky handled himself very well. I've never seen Democrats or anyone act worse in a deposition than they did. The Democrats couldn't handle the truth, and that's what Tony Bobulinsky delivered today. He delivered the truth. He talked about Joe's involvement. He talked about the numerous times he talked to Joe Biden. He mentioned that Joe Biden thanked him for what he was doing with his brother and his son. So Joe Biden knew very well the role Tony Bobulinsky was playing in the Biden orbit, and he talked about what CEFC was. And I think every American would be concerned if they could understand exactly what CEFC was trying to do. They were trying to implement their Belt and Road Initiative in the United States. Everything that we have bipartisan agreement on in Congress to prevent China from doing in the United States, CEFC was trying to acquire the services of the Bidens to be able to remove the barriers of entry into our market. So Joe Biden was working for the Chinese. He was the brand. Tony Bobulinsky is the second person on record under oath to testify that Joe Biden was the brand.
And what didn't he talk about millions and millions of dollars, and he mentioned all these other countries as well, and Joe's involvement, that he was directly involved in all of this in spite of what he told the American people as a candidate and as a president numerous times, that he never once spoke to his son, his brother, or anybody for that matter? Is that all true? Do we know how many millions at this point?
Well, we're well over 20 million that the Bidens have taken, well over 8 million from China. We found out today it was because of Joe Biden. They had no use in Hunter Biden. They certainly had no use in Jim Biden. They were paying for Joe Biden, the brand. And Tony Bobulinsky did a great job explaining that. And I think that the American people will be very interested to read the transcripts when we release them.
All right, let me ask you, Jim Jordan, let's get your take on the developments today. And I'd like to know, I know that your colleague, Congressman Comer, has demanded the DOJ turn over Joe Biden's classified documents. I'd also like the records of all those pseudonym accounts, email accounts that he was using. I'd like every single email he sent. I'd also like to take a look at Joe Biden's bank records. Is there any chance that we'll get a hold of all of this so that maybe you can put this whole thing together?
Well, what we really want now is we want the information Robert Hur has. And they can't hide, the White House and the Justice Department can't hide behind the fact that, oh, it's an ongoing investigation. The investigation's over. We have a 300-some page report from Special Counsel Hur. We want those transcripts. We want that information. We want the video footage. We want all that information as we go about doing our work. To the other point, Sean, I mean, this is called the money, the business, the brand. That's what was going on with the Biden family. And the White House story has changed so many times. First it was, I never spoke to Hunter Biden about his business. Then it was, I'm never in business with Hunter Biden. And then, of course, Hunter Biden himself said, my father wasn't financially involved. We get the facts from all these witnesses. And here's probably the best one we got a couple weeks ago from one of Hunter Biden's business associates. When Joe Biden shows up at the Four Seasons restaurant for lunch, at the lunch are Hunter Biden, his associates, and 8 Chinese officials who are executives at CEFC, the Chinese energy company. Joe Biden comes in, gives a short presentation, and leaves. 3 weeks later, the deal gets closed, and $3 million gets wired to Biden accounts. That's what was going on. The money, the business, the brand, which is what they were selling, and Tony Bobulinsky confirmed that today in his testimony.
The money, the business, the brand. Tony Bobulinsky today. You had Rob Walker, a former business associate of Hunter's. He met with the chairman of CEFC, sought to create a joint venture at the Four Seasons in Washington. Has that been confirmed? And do you find both Mr. Walker and Tony Bobulinsky, Jim Jordan, do you find them to be credible witnesses for your case?
Well, at that luncheon, Tony Bobulinsky wasn't there, but Rob Walker was. Rob Walker, though, is the guy who wouldn't even tell us that the big guy was Joe Biden. I mean, think about that. That's unbelievable. But Tony Bobulinsky obviously confirmed that the big guy on an email to Walker, to Hunter Biden, to all these folks who were doing business together, that the big guy was, in fact, Joe Biden. So, yeah, we did find Tony Bobulinsky's story hasn't changed. The White House story has changed. The Justice Department story has changed about how they handled the Hunter Biden investigation. But like the whistleblowers, Tony Bobulinsky's story has not wavered. He's just come forward with what he sees as the facts, and he's presented them to the committee and, just as importantly, to the country.
And Congressman Smith, let's talk to you about Tony Bobulinsky and the allegations that he made and the things he testified to today, that he worked with Hunter Biden to create the joint venture, Sinohawk Holdings, with CEFC, the Chinese energy conglomerate, and said that he met with Joe Biden in 2017 and that Joe Biden, quote, enabled his son Hunter to sell access to the United States to our most dangerous adversaries, including the Chinese Communist Party, Russia, and more, and that he had direct personal experience, and it was clear that Joe Biden was the brand being sold by the Biden family. What's your reaction to that testimony?
You know, Sean, that's exactly right. Today, Tony Bobulinsky confirmed what the two IRS whistleblowers said months ago in WhatsApp messages that they delivered to the House Ways and Means Committee that said that Joe Biden is the brand and the family business is selling the brand all over the country to all these foreign entities like China, Russia. What's also interesting today is that Tony Bobulinsky, Sean, said that he named the time, the location where he sat down with Joe Biden for 45 minutes to talk about the relationship with the Chinese companies, Chinese government. And that was 3 years before Joe Biden stood up before the American people in a debate saying that his son was not involved in with any Chinese company.
Same question for all three of you. We are talking about the President of the United States that may have taken official actions as vice president that benefited his family. We're talking about Joe Biden not only just lying to the American people, but enriching his family by doing deals with some of our biggest geopolitical foes. Jim Jordan, I'll start with you. Where does this end? This is an impeachment inquiry here. What would be, what are you looking at in terms of possible charges against Joe?
Well, potential obstruction, potential money laundering, potential bribery. Those are what we're looking at. We got two more witnesses, Jim Biden next week, Hunter Biden the following week. We'll depose those. We'll see what they bring forward. But I think in the end, it's a tale as old as time. Politician does certain things. Those actions benefit his family financially. And then there's an effort to cover it up. And we would have never known about the cover-up but for the brave whistleblowers. But we got to complete our investigation. Then we'll decide.
You said over 20 million. What crimes do you possibly see here, or impeachable offenses do you see James Comer?
Well, Joe Biden, to me, looks like he's violated the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act. In that act, it defines what constitutes a bribe. And certainly, if you look at while he was vice president, the gifts that his son and brother received certainly meet the definition of bribery. So that's certainly a problem. Jim Jordan mentioned the obvious with the 6 different banks implied in their suspicious activity reports that there was money laundering, tax evasion, tax fraud, wire fraud. I think with the president's brother, there's securities fraud. So it's a pretty long list. Like Representative Jordan said, we're going to be hopefully getting the 2 final depositions together with the Biden family members, and then we'll proceed from there. Are you thinking about maybe sending a subpoena to Joe Biden? Well, we'll see where everything leads, but he's certainly a key player in this, obviously. We've learned from some of the previous interviews that we've conducted that there may be some more suspicious activity and another maybe account that was unknown. So we're requesting information on that. We're taking steps needed to issue subpoenas that will win in court.
Jason, what impeachable offenses are you looking at?
Well, Sean, if you just look, Joe Biden, the Biden family has been cashing in his position of power in government. We have numerous examples of witnesses who have said that. The IRS whistleblowers have highlighted evidence of that. Joe Biden's going to go down as the most corrupt, compromised president in our lifetime.
Prediction, will Joe Biden, as a result of the 3 of you and your independent investigations, be impeached? Do you believe that'll happen, Jim Jordan?
We got to wait till the evidence is done. We got to see where our colleagues are. But I think the case is pretty compelling.
Jim Comer.
I agree with Jim Jordan.
And Jason Smith, last word.
I'm with Jim and Jamie.
All right, 3 for 3. We'll be watching very closely and reporting every detail.